Japan Journal, the internet's #1 English language weekly online cybercast from Japan. Japan Journal with Mal Adams. With Mal Adams and the great Buddy Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us once again on another edition of Japan Journal, the internet's #1 weekly English language online cybercast from Japan. Japan Journal with your host, Mal Adams, yours truly, coming to you from beautiful downtown Kakiawa City, emanating from the Media Arts Lab here, but this is the view from my veranda of the studio. You could see Mount Fuji in the distance here, a couple hours down the freeway, snow-capped in August, baby, and the tea fields of beautiful Shizuoka Prefecture. This is the Nebraska of Japan, where I'm from, and that's what you get for your money. Tea fields, the greatest green tea in the world, and my guest knows something about that because he's been on the receiving end. Look at him clapping over there. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce my guest for the day, my brother, the inimitable. You know, that means you can't imitate him. The illustrious. Oh, heck, well, look at it. Buddy! My brother.
Thanks, Mal.
Say hi to our people, man. You're streaming over Japan and all. You're in Ethiopia. You're in Kenya. You're in Southeast Asia. And
Brazil, too.
All over in America. Now in Brazil, we learned.
Yeah, beautiful.
What's up, buddy? A long time coming, man. We've been trying
You the man.
You all right? You good?
Everything's good, man. Everything's
blessed.
good.
I know that. And you're highly favored. I know that much, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How's Melanie, the family, my sister?
Everybody's fine, man. Everybody's fine. Good, getting big, trying to keep productive, you know.
Yeah, getting
enjoying
big.
the summer before back to school.
Getting big. That's a shout out to your granddaddy status.
Oh, yeah.
I envy you, brother.
OG.
OG, man. You got it right there,
son,
man.
You know.
What a phase we're in this life, my brother. What a phase
it's wonderful.
in this life. And, you know, what I really want to do here at this venture is to share with you and my viewers who this brother is for the uninitiated. Allow me a minute to just share this bio with my viewers, man, all over the world. Once in a while, a dazzling talent comes on the scene who amazes everyone by his talent and ingenuity. Buddy Williams is such a talent. Buddy has become one of the best drummers in the music world, known worldwide for his dynamic energy, electrifying technique, and unerring ability to complement and accompany the most discriminating of instruments and talents. Buddy is not classified as just a drummer. His abilities extend beyond that into the abilities of vocals, composer, arranger, and producer, and we'll talk about all of that on the show today. But having been in the business for over, this is a bio I had to update, I'm going to say 55 years, because Buddy started playing professionally at the age of 8 years old. Did you hear me? And then subsequently, Buddy attended the prestigious High School of Music and Art, along with other such notables as Noel Pointer, Tom Browne, Dave Valentine, Marcus Miller, and Bernard Wright, just to name a few, and the Manhattan School of Music in New York, you know. So he's got the skills to pay the bills. A prolific performer, Buddy's abilities span across varied musical styles. His playing with the group Natural Essence while attending the Music and Arts High School led to later opportunities with notable and diverse musicians. The list is endless. His exhilarating presence and melodic insight creates an unyielding guide, which is why Buddy currently tours with Hurry Man's 40th year reunion band, On Call, Tanya Marie, George Benson, Roberta Flack, and Patty Austin. Buddy's credentials list as who's who of the music industry. His virtuosity and unique style has been utilized in touring with the best: Tom Browne, Luther Vandross, Stevie Wonder, Regina Bell, Michael Jackson, the Manhattan Transfer, Al Jarreau, Bob James, Peabo Bryson, the GRP All-Stars, Will Downing, Seda Garrett, Melissa Morgan, Jeffrey Osborne, Ernie Watts, Houston Persons, Hugh Masekela, Richard T., Alex Bunyan, pronunciation, Chaka Khan, Nancy Wilson, George Duke, David Sanborn, Bette Midler, Stanley Turrentine, Angela Bovill, Ashford and Simpson, Herb Alpert. He's going real because he's remembering all these we got stories behind each one of these, I'm sure. Herb Alpert.
Wow. Yeah.
Linda Ronstadt, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Taro
Yes, sir.
Nakamura, even a global artist. Sadao Watanabe. That's when I first met Buddy in Japan with Sadao. Just posted his picture.
Sadao.
Michael Franks, Nat Adderley Sr. and Jr. I mentioned Michael Jackson. Did I mention Michael Jackson? Rachel Farrell, the Sisters of Glory, Thelma Houston, Cece Peniston, Phoebe Snow, Lois Walden, and Alberta Walker. Mariah Carey, Anita Baker, Leslie Uggams, Lena Horne, whoever y'all know, that's who he's played with. Let me just cut to the chase. And the list goes on. The list goes on. With credentials such as this, one has to be more than good. One has to be exceptional, ladies and gentlemen. I'll take the pains to go through this list for you because I want you to understand. You know, I want this brother to smell his flowers while I got him live, screaming globally here on GNN. Now, one of the highlights of Buddy's career was to be asked to play at the extraordinary one-night stand concert at Carnegie Hall. Did you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
And this one-time only event featured some of the best jazz musicians in the world. Eubie Blake. That's a whole nother chapter of this episode. We're going to talk about Eubie Blake. Herbie Hancock, Ramsey Lewis, George Duke, Sir Roland Hanna, Kenny Barron, Rodney Franklin, and of course, Buddy Williams was on the stage too. A historical concert at the Concert Hall of Concert Hall. Ron Carter, he adds to that. Thank you.
Yeah,
now,
he was in the middle.
Buddy's performed on 2 New York Grammy Award shows, produced records such as the LP featuring New York Air personality Roscoe. What's Roscoe's last name? Roscoe, is that what they call it?
No, it's like saying Madonna. Roscoe was a famous, like Frankie Crocker. He's a famous New York. Wow,
Air personality.
You pulling them out, man. You finding that stuff?
Hey, wait a minute.
Roscoe's deceased now.
Roscoe.
I know, but Roscoe.
Herbie Mann's LP Astroland, which you co-produced. His composition, arranging, and production skills are present in the soundtrack for Bustin' Loose with Roberta Flack on that. And on Luther Vandross, Never Too Much, right?
Yes,
early in your career.
Yes,
that's like 1980, something like that, right?
Yes, sir.
Or earlier. And then appearing with his own band, Buddy's appearance has been broadcast on the Fox 5 Good Day New York Show 1990 and Good Morning America 1992. He's been interviewed for Downbeat, Modern Drummer, Ebony, EM, that's Ebony Man, Swing Journal Magazine, that's the Japanese-based publication, where you can read about him in Japanese if you can read Japanese, and Talking Drum, along with various other publications. Buddy Williams has a reputation of being considered one of the most respected musicians in the business. For the deaf and hard of hearing, let me say that again. Buddy Williams has a reputation of being considered one of the most respected musicians and humans in the business by his peers, which is no small accomplishment. He is also considered to be admirable and one of the most professional and trustworthy musicians in the business. He's a governor in NARAS, N-A-R-A-S, and a member of SAG and AFTRA, as my union, Screenwriters, Screen Actors Guild, and American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. But he was an integral part of the Saturday Night Live band for over 12 years. I never told him this, but I knew him before he met me, watching him on Saturday Night Live. We'll go there and do today. All right. And, the consummate professional, but he exemplifies his musicianship in his live and studio recordings. His work is heard on numerous recordings, audio and visual, radio and television commercials, Double Min Gum, Kodak Film, Western Union, Lysol. How'd that happen?
Oh, God.
M&M Candies, Navy Perfume, Hawaiian Punch, Jamaica Tourism, and on and on and on. Buddy Williams, a moving force in today's music, both nationally, internationally acclaimed. He has conducted many drum seminars, workshops, and lessons on behalf of his business partner, Yamaha, and various charitable organizations worldwide. Having a loyal and strong fellowship in Japan, that's where we met in person. I know him from Japan. He is known as Buddy-san, the Honorable Buddy-san. You boy, oh, listen, I'm good. Wow, wow.
It's all your fault.
Oh, man. I wasn't going to do this. Ah. He laughing. He laughing.
It's all your fault.
Ah. Yeah, wow. Hmm. Y'all don't understand. Help me, buddy. Get through this.
Yeah, brother.
His musical integrity, heart, and soul are ever present in the music we hear every day. Perhaps his face is not known, but our ears recognize him in a heartbeat, and our hearts
Yeah.
beat to his rhythm. A
Yes,
true
sir.
musician's musician, Buddy Williams, can only be described as distinct. And I'm getting emotional because that's my brother.
That's right, brother.
All
Your
right.
fault.
Yeah.
It's your fault, brother. It's your
Jesus.
fault. And
Man,
thank you very much.
that was unscheduled and unplanned.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's real, bro.
Love
It's
you,
real.
man. Love you,
Love
boy.
you, bro.
Cheers
And
to you. Ooh, let
much
me
love, bro.
drink it
Kampai.
with the old
Kampai.
soul. Yeah, man. Cheers to you. What's up, man?
Beautiful, brother.
Eubie
Thank you
Blake.
so
Eubie
much.
Blake. Let's talk about your daddy. We know you were born to do it, but boy, how'd you get there, man? Talk about your dad.
Um,
What was his group's name? The singing group.
my dad is from the old school of music here in the United States. The radio before there was a TV and those things, they were the first brothers on TV. And the singing group that he was with and wrote and arranged with is called the Charioteers. They're
Cherry
from the
Tea.
30s and the 40s, the 1930s and the 40s, and they did lots of. They were the black group, for lack of better words, on CBS with that gold microphone, distinctive gold
Yeah.
microphone, red label with the gold microphone, and
Wow.
they did lots of 78s, as we know. These kids don't know about that, but lots of 78s, and the Charioteers went all over, and their base was yeah, they ended up in New York, but they originally were in at Wilberforce University, and they would do a Sunday morning radio show that broadcasted all over the United States, and that was Black people's church music on free radio in those days of the 30s and the 40s. So
Wow.
um, they would do other gigs. Of course, they had to go to school, but then they would do other gigs, and they they wouldn't go but so far to perform, so they could get back to the Cleveland, Ohio area to do their morning broadcast that was their gig. They had to be back for the morning gig, early morning gospel show.
Wow.
And then they broadcast from Chicago later on as they got more prominent, and they were responsible, or they presented who we now know as Mahalia Jackson on Haley, but the Mahalia Jackson, yeah, bro. I'm a musician's kid, bro.
Thank God.
That's why when you say I got it honest, I had no choice in the matter. If your
Born to
dad's
do
a
it. Born to do
if
it.
your yeah, yeah, if your dad's a carpenter, you kind of become a carpenter, or you learn what a carpenter does. If your dad's a mechanic, you learn what a mechanic does, or you're familiar with what they do. I was always around music. There's the piano right there, and they would
Sure.
play and stuff. So when they got established and they moved to New York and really was working here, my dad and my mom were renting a half a brownstone for $5. I think it was $5 a week. And look at those economics. And
Yeah.
my uncle Eubie, the great Eubie Blake, he called my mom and told my mom and dad to come around the corner that the little old lady next door was moving to Florida, and he got him a deal, and he purchased this house that I'm living in now. And for
That's
you guys
amazing.
that know real estate, living in Bed-Stuy, this house was he bought it for $1,200. You know these brownstones and landmarks, and they cost a lot more. So I'm very blessed to
Especially
have
with
a music.
gentrification going on in Brooklyn, right?
Yes, Lord. You know, so I'm very blessed to have that background of music. And my father, I'm not as great a musician as my father. My father sang in 5 languages, Mal, and
Wow.
solfege and sight read, and he had other guys, a lot of musicians and folks, and he arranged a lot of stuff. But I had no choice in the matter in terms of music. Not that he forced me. I grew around these guys singing and playing and that kind of stuff. And I picked up on what I could pick up on. But I kind of chose the drums because I thought that was my path. I called myself not picking the drums so I wouldn't have to go play at church across the street where my grandmother was the minister at. And look, now I play for church every
That's
Sunday,
right.
every
Right.
Thursday, so we, as
You and
I
I
always
got that
say,
AME connection, brother, among
that
many other
AME
connections.
connection,
You know,
brother. We make
Wilberforce.
plans
I
and
was
God
supposed to go to
laughs.
Wilberforce. My
Yeah,
granddaddy was a
yeah,
presiding elder in the
yeah.
50th District out in Nebraska, AME Church, brother, the first
Same
black
thing, bro.
religious organization in
There you
America, right?
go.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Richard
Lots of
Allen.
history there.
Richard Allen. Yeah.
Richard
Google,
Allen, brother.
Google that if y'all don't know. We're talking about the African
Yeah,
Methodist Episcopal Church
yeah,
maintained the word
yeah.
Africa in the thing because that's what it was
Yes, sir.
before
Yes, sir.
emancipation. This
Yes,
church
sir.
evolved, and Buddy's father and family in that church. Boy, so when you and I met, man, that's why I got emotional, man. You can't imagine that was going through my mind based on our history in Japan, brother.
Yeah, man.
I've never seen anybody so
Thank God.
loved coming from
Thank God.
America besides myself in Japan, but you,
Thank God. Thank God, bro. Thank God.
Buddy
Very
style.
nice. Very nice.
Wow.
They're
Wow.
very warm people. They took to me right away, and Mr. Hagiwara.
Hagi.
I can't go without saying Hagi, because Hagi opened, the floodgates of generosity and Japan spirit. And
Well,
then you
tell the
taught
folks who
me.
Hagi is. That's the Yamaha guy, right?
Oh, Mr. Hagiwara. I'm sorry, brother. I always assume everybody knows who Hagiwara is, but Mr. Hagiwara was a representative of an aficionado of Yamaha drums. The reason why us American boys know about anything about Yamaha drums is because of Mr. Hagiwara, Hagi.
Tonight on Biography, Portrait of an Industry Giant, we will view images from the life of Takashi Hagiwara, the man known simply as Hagi. He is a man whose role in the rise of Yamaha drums is so pivotal, so incontestable, that everyone who has ever known him bows in respect. His life's work has been simple: to create the finest sounding, best designed musical instruments in the world. Thanks to his ceaseless efforts, Yamaha drums now enjoy overwhelming acceptance in every city, town, and hamlet on planet Earth. Of course, as he is first to admit, Hagi has never been alone in his relentless quest for better drums. "I have many friends," he would say. "Tonight we will meet some of them."
And he made sure that our the product and the love and the distinction and the edification of our instruments was always top shelf, handmade, and in the Japan spirit of excellence or none. If nothing was not good, they would send you another one until they got it right. They would custom make people's instruments to their specifications and their distinct colors. I won't name the artist, but one guy came with a tic tac and said, "I want my drums to be this color." And it took them a week, but they pulled it off and made his paint color the color of that tic tac. And there's only one set of drums that's that color, and I'm not gonna say no more names now.
Okay, now you know where they were made, and it's just occurred to me. I'm a producer, and I'm thinking as soon as the pandemic settles down, when you come back to visit the Yamaha headquarters, you stop by here because I'll drive you there 25 minutes from my door in
Oh, thank you
Hamamatsu,
very much.
Shizuoka
Thank you very
Prefecture. Matter of
much.
fact, we need to put that in motion in anticipation of the subsiding of the pandemic so you can travel and come over here and continue some seminars and let us hit you up with some tours and stuff. You know what I'm saying? You reach out on
Sounds
your
good
end
to
and
me.
I'll facilitate it for you right here because that's right down the
Sounds good
road
to
from
me.
me. I'm in Hamamatsu, the home of Yamaha.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me.
Yeah,
They
let's
make
do that.
great instruments.
But the
Great
drums,
instruments.
brother, the drums. Talk to me. I read an article written about you in one of the magazines where you were talking about drums being a spiritual instrument, and other than the voice, drums would be the number 2 instrument in
Yeah, the voice and
cultural
then the
history.
drum.
That African thing. Talk
Africa.
on that a minute, brother. Educate us about that, please.
As we learn as kids, Africa, the spiritual, the communication. There's a talking drum in Africa. There's a
Sure.
drum for spiritual. There's a drum for wedding. There's a drum for funerals. They would sing the chants and the sounds, and mom would call you on with a certain call, and with the drum, we, and you'd say, "Bring home the bread," or dun, 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 dun. But the drums and the voice, those are the first 2 instruments. Then all these other things where they would string a string to a stick and a gourd
Sure.
and make what we now know as the harp, and then the piano, and as it goes on
Guitar,
umbellophone,
banjo.
there's the guitar, and the umbellophones, as we call them, xylophones and umbellophones, is little pieces of wood that are tuned,
Sure.
that are cut to tune, and then
Sure.
they had the gourds under them to amplify the sound. You see that in Senegal. So the drum is part of our everyday life, whether it's Cuba, Brazil, uh, South Africa, or Senegal. The African drum has always been around. And then, you see the different derivatives. I mean, the marching drums in Britain, or
Ah,
the drums in Brazil.
see, you
The
anticipated my next question. You're
Yeah,
not only telling us what you know or what you read, you're telling us what you've seen on your global tours.
yes,
I was going to ask
yes,
you,
sir.
all over
Yes,
Europe,
sir.
you've toured Africa,
Yes,
Asia.
yes, sir.
Come on,
Yes,
tell
sir.
me. Let me just
Yes,
pick a
sir.
spot. Let me just pick a spot and see if you got a story for that. Uh, I'm going to Scandinavia, Switzerland. You ever?
Switzerland, they always say the Swiss drums and the Swiss beats, and the Swiss beats is a great producer. He adapted that name from a rudiment called Swiss beats, where the Viennese and the stuff, they would have certain sticking. But you said Switzerland, so I'm just
Hey,
answering
I'm laughing
that
because I just picked it out of air, man. I
they
knew you had
the,
something
the
to speak
Swiss
on about.
the Swiss have certain bells that are
Yeah.
all A A through G, and it's all the keys on the piano or the keys to the scale. And the Swiss also have the little different drum beats that they use to do their presentations. Remember when they have the little ding 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 ding,
Mm,
and the dancing dolls and those little
sure.
music boxes
The
that
mechanical
that comes
things,
from.
yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah, that comes from, and they would play all the different classical music. They have some that are big, and they have a little drummer playing, and you hear all of that in there. But the Swiss adapted the drums to their music, their religion, their continuity, and their communication, just like the different other parts of the world adapted it. Whether it's China, or like you said, what the taiko,
You
right?
mentioned
You
it. You
said
heard me
that.
say it. Yeah, man, sure.
The
Taiko is one
taiko, but
significant instrument in Japanese spirituality and communication
yes, sir. You see
and
that in the
culture, my
temples.
brother. I
You,
played them when I joined the festivals over here, the
yes,
Harvest festivals,
sir.
man. And my son was
Yes,
raised up
sir.
playing the taiko, man. I
Yes,
said, boy, yeah,
sir.
nobody
Yes,
could
sir.
see you. He'd cry, boy, playing that
Nice
conga with a
warm
Japanese.
sound, you know.
Yeah.
Guru, guru, kada, 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 kada.
And then,
Guru,
I'm
guru.
trained. My first instrument was the bongos anyway. Youngest of 7 kids.
Yes,
Everybody else
sir.
had an instrument. I was little. I
Bongo.
played and I'd get on there and jam with the Japanese kids. They were playing that one beat, and I'd throw in a little something, from, you know,
That's a
Candido,
heartbeat, brother.
Candido or something.
Heartbeat.
Yeah,
A
man.
heartbeat. Heartbeat, brother.
Let's stay on the historical thing, man, because we're gonna make this journey with you, my brother. A
You
name
got it.
that often comes up out your mouth, just like Eubie Blake.
Oh, Eubie Blake was a great genius writer, musician that influenced the whole music industry with his compositions and his ragtime and his adapting it to what we now will know as Broadway or Black Broadway, but giving shows and all those footlights and all of that stuff. Him and his partner Noble Sissel,
Noble.
they were a wonderful writing team, Sissel and Blake, and they wrote songs like "Memories of You," and they wrote shows like "So Long," and people adapted the ragtime and the stuff against what him and his partner were doing of the times. And he was very benevolent with my family, and Uncle Eubie was my dad's confidant. And so
See,
him and his wife lived in this area where I live long before my dad got here, but they were good musician friends. And
that's your
like I
Uncle
said,
Eubie, man. That's all I've ever
that is my Uncle Eubie, the tight, same age bracket as my grandparents. And my grandma would tease about him, but he he was a very influential guy on my development as the musician that you guys know now because yeah, I had to play piano. I played piano from 3 years old. I didn't know I was playing the piano. I just knew I saw what my father did, and I would do what he did. He
Wow.
would sing, I would sing. I knew that the A on the piano, A through G, the way they taught me the alphabet when they got to G, there was an H, and I said, "There's no H on the piano." They said, "Well, the alphabet has more letters than the piano," but that's how they communicated it to me. But Uncle Eubie was very influential in that. Oh yeah, I would go to his house sometimes and practice my piano lesson before I
What?
could go outside and play with my friends.
What?
But he was also the guy that told my dad, and he tried to convince my grandmother. She didn't want to hear it, Miss AME church lady. But he was like, he's got great rhythm. If he wants to play the drums, you should let him play the drums because he really does know what he's
Oh,
doing and he's got it like
that
that.
came
Let
from
him.
Eubie Blake, man.
That came from Uncle Eubie. I mean, he was like co-signing. My dad was cool, but like I said, my grandmother very staunch, church lady. And
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
no drums over at AME
You ain't
Church
gonna be
across the
playing that
street. They
ragtime up in here, huh?
Yeah, she would, I can't say on the air what she would say, not that she was cussing, but those praise the Lord ladies uh didn't take kindly to that kind of stuff because they felt that music was being played in the house of ill repute. Did I say that technically enough to be on the air?
Not only said it technically correct, but you historically accurate. You know the
There you
stories
go.
about Jelly Roll Morton, and you can
Yes,
as far up as Duke Ellington, who was playing in the
yes,
Cotton Club, and the Hoochie
yes,
Girls would come out and do things.
yes.
That's why you see.
And
That's why you see Duke can look over his shoulder and play all them keys because he's watching them girls move, and that's what
yes, he
influenced his
does. Yes, he
rhythms.
does.
Am I correct?
Yes, exactly. Right on point. My dad and them were around for all of those that time period because um
No, that's
the
right.
charioteers. Yeah, because here's another thing. When Cab Calloway had a big band, they would sometimes accompany big shows that had several 6 or 7 artists, and
Sure.
each of those artists would do a 15-minute set or something. And Cab Calloway's band was the accompanying band for all of them.
Jesus.
And in that Cab Calloway band was a guy named John Burks
No,
Gillespie,
man, get out of my head now.
who they
You know I was
who they
going there.
named. My parents were there. My dad was there when the
Dizzy.
dancer lady called them Dizzy because she would say, "You's about a dizzy." Well, I can't say the other word, but you know what
Yeah.
she said.
Motor scooter.
And yes, sir.
Well,
And
listen,
once when I
man.
was in college, and Dizzy was the honored guest of our jazz band at Manhattan School of Music, I got tickets for my dad to come see the show. And when we came backstage, Dizzy said, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" Put his arm around my dad. And they just kind of walked away from me. He said, "You sounds pretty good on them drums there." He said that he sounded great. And dad was like, "Oh, yeah." But he said, "I remember when Cab was, you guys accompany us with Cab's band." He said, "Yeah, you were there when that lady gave me my name." Now, I didn't know that until college, that hearing those old guys, they talking, and I just happened to be the kid on the side standing, but I never knew that information from my dad or the history until I heard those guys
But
talking.
subsequent to that, as a child, did you ever dream that you would be playing or recording with Dizzy later?
No, I never thought about that like that because
But you did,
I'm
though.
a music. Oh yeah, I did several
Okay.
times, but I
Speak
never
on it.
anticipated that. What I'm saying is I never anticipated that, or like some guys dream of playing at Madison Square Garden,
Yeah.
or sometimes guys dream of performing or doing. I never thought of that stuff because I was always around those guys, and I never thought that I would be working with them because I didn't think I was, I don't want to say worthier, but I was like, I didn't think I could hang. But when I noticed that a lot of other folks weren't familiar with the genre of which we're speaking about, I knew how this shit was supposed to sound. I knew how the you sang or you played with dynamics. I knew that the song had a certain feeling that it had to have.
Yeah,
Look what
yeah.
happened when I did Bet at at Hello Dolly just now.
Very
Whoever was
recently,
there before
let me
at the
preface this.
Schubert,
Buddy Williams just came off a long Broadway gig with Bette Midler, first call
right?
drummer for these Broadway shows. He put me in
Well,
Oprah. Let me preface this with
oh, Oprah seat.
now you put me in Oprah
I'm
Winfrey seat in
sorry.
color purple on Broadway. I'm live. I'm like,
I'm
what?
sorry. I
What
forgot. I
you
forgot.
sure did. Come on
I
now. Let
forgot.
me let me
I
tell it. Cause
forgot.
look,
I
I'm
forgot.
gonna be transparent here. Partial of the reason I'm putting you on is so I can tell my story too. I got stories
Oprah seat.
about you. I'm not just listening to you. Oprah Winfrey owned the Broadway show and came occasionally to see it, and she sat in center seat, row seat, so on, so on, so on, so. And you always hear about this seat, the best seat in the house. And Buddy said, "Man, look, man, it's crowded, brother, but I hooked you up with the only seat left in the building, and it's Oprah's seat, but don't tell nobody." I said, "What? Who
I
does
forgot about
that?"
that.
I'm
I
just
forgot
telling y'all
about
what it
that.
is. This is my
I
brother.
forgot.
This is my brother. Yeah, see, hooked me up. I had my butt in Oprah's seat.
Oprah seat. Yes, you
What's the
did.
name of the
Yes, you
theater?
did. That was the Broadway Theater across from the Ed Sullivan Theater, where the Ed Sullivan Show used to premiered, and all of the great people
Sure.
from the Beatles to the Temptations to the Diana Ross and the Supremes to
All of that.
anybody that was that. And then at that time period, it was then the David Letterman Show.
David
It was
Letterman,
still the
sure.
Ed Sullivan
Yeah.
Theater, and it was right across the corner. One was on one corner, and the Broadway Theater's on the other corner. And when I put my submission in for when you said you were in town, I begged for them. I went to go pay for the seats, and the house manager said, "Well, buddy, I got you covered. Your man's here from Japan. I got Oprah's seat for you, okay?" And that's on the aisle in the middle of the whole theater,
I couldn't
about
believe it.
fifth row back. you
I was
know,
not
5, 6 way back.
surprised, mind you, but I just couldn't
Yeah,
believe it. I'm standing out in front of
yeah,
the thing, doing my video and saying,
that's
y'all don't
beautiful,
understand.
man.
I just got out of my butt, but Oprah's butt was.
Oprah's seat. Yes, you did. That's a special. That's a
Unbelievable.
producer's
Then I
seat,
ended
you
up
know.
down in the pit looking where
Yes, you
you sit.
did.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, you
And
did.
all
Yes,
that.
you
Who
did.
does that? And then the
Yes,
history
you did.
associated with all of the acts that have been. Come on, man.
Yes, you
It's been a
did.
blessing,
Yes, you
man. It's
did.
just been a blessing being in your shadows, my brother.
Amen.
All wherever in the world
Amen.
I see you. But you know,
Yeah.
because of you, my first or second stop in America when I go home is Brooklyn, baby. That's my home away from home. I have learned to appreciate and love New York through your eyes because that you're a
Thank you,
homeboy
bro.
from Brooklyn. Bed-Stuy,
Thank you.
AME Church across from that beautiful brownstone that you're sitting in right now. The legend,
Yes,
the
sir.
historic, the history behind that. We'll talk about all
Yes,
that
sir.
later for my Japanese listeners. This is going to be homework for my students in a couple of weeks.
Oh, good.
So
Good.
they understand
Good for them.
I don't teach English conversation. I teach cross-cultural communication at Adam
Sounds
Discipline
good.
Academy. Yeah. And I share, I'll have you come on and guest lecture at some point. We'll stream this one time. But let me, you before I got it out my mouth, you said John Burks, and I was getting ready to ask you about Dizzy, brother, because you made a point about the drums and how you inherited this stuff before you even started studying music. Well, at 3 you were playing, but
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
didn't know. I just heard it.
okay, but you just heard it. But there's something innate that's called a gift.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Instinctually, you inherited, you were exposed to it. But I was reminded of a conversation I had with Dizzy Gillespie when I'm doing my piece on Miles Davis. And so I had to go to the source. Don't let Miles tell me. Let Dizzy tell me about how Miles came to New York from when he was
Yeah, look at
17-year-old to
that.
Tony. You mentioned Cab Calloway, but Billy Eckstein, same thing, right?
Yes, sir.
The big band cats. And
Yes,
so
sir.
Dizzy talking about how he and Charlie Yardbird Parker doing the bebop thing, which is what the
Yes,
name was
sir.
given to it. But my point is getting to this. Dizzy, academically, not necessarily, but he had instinctive knowledge and self-taught. Miles told me Dizzy was self-taught on many instruments. And out of Dizzy's mouth, he said, Miles was cool. He was a good student, came and joined Juilliard, he said, but he used to come up to my place and play my record and say, Dizzy, what was that note right there you played? And Dizzy said he knew what he was talking about. So he took him over to the piano.
Yes, sir.
First lesson of jazz, he said, man, you can't be a jazz musician unless you know the piano and the outline. You talking about A, B, C, E, C, D, E, F, G, H. Same thing. The fingers, the intervals, And he
Yes,
schooled Miles
sir.
on that when he was 18 years
Yes,
old.
sir. That's
Understanding
the
the
best
harmonies
message.
and these intervals, you know what I'm saying? So my point is,
Best
and
message.
then Miles would ask him about what's it like playing with Charlie Parker. He said, man, he said, you just gotta get it. He said, we didn't go to school for this. We just had to get it. You know what I'm saying? What he was saying is, man, if you can't listen, you can't hear, and you can't feel, you gonna miss
Exactly.
the boat, baby. So what you're speaking about in your young age, it was just osmosis to a great extent. Of course, you need
Exactly. Exactly.
the rudiments and the fundamentals and the theory and all of that. But man, without what you had, you wouldn't.
And the scales and the scales.
Okay. I digress.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
I just posted a piece not long ago done by a great Japanese composer. And Japanese melodies are quite simple. Talk to me about the Japanese scale. Is that the pentatonic similar? The
Similar, yes, sir. There you go. They
Japanese
always throw that
national
minor
anthem.
joint in there.
You see, and so
There's
they'll build
always a
they
minor
build their
interval in
melodies on
there.
that. So then, this is a very famous composer that composed something late in the 50s. Thelonious Monk comes over, hears that, and flips it. Got a jazz cover version of that same thing, playing that same melody, and your boy, the saxophone player with him.
Charlie Rouse.
Charlie Rouse recorded this Japanese song, and I just could not help but post that and share that because of the lesson about our
Yes, sir.
ability as the original
Yes,
creators
sir.
of that thing to
Yes,
adapt
sir.
anything into that thing.
Yes,
So
sir.
speak on that a little bit,
So
if
true.
you would, about how you acquired your knowledge. You started training at what, high school?
Well,
Studying them.
yeah, no, I took piano lessons at an early late age. My parents, they always wanted me to take piano lessons on the weekends, and
Okay.
I went 3, 4 years old, 5 years old, played lots of little stuff on the piano, little classical pieces, and
Mhm.
I always wanted to play some hip music and play jazz, the stuff that I was listening to. But
Hip
I
music.
played, so I started playing that stuff at 3, 4, 5. I studied with a lady named by the name of Gloria Denard, who is Kenwood Denard's mother, the drummer. That Woody Denard is my nickname for him. Woody was the guy that I learned what a baby was. I saw his mother pregnant with him, and I came home one day from music lessons and said, "Mommy, Miss Denard is getting fat." And she said, "She's not getting fat, dear. She's having a baby." And I was like, having a baby and that. And Woody Denard was the baby that I learned what babies
Oh,
were making
wow.
for.
Wow.
And going forward into now 21st century music, he's one of the greatest musicians because he was a musical genius, and he can play the piano and the drums and sing all at the same time.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, so I'm saying I grew up around cats like that and different influences, and then my dad and them would practice, or their stint with the Charioteers was over by the time I was really born and raised up. But all those old records are here,
Sure.
all those old gigs, anything we saw on TV that was hip, or the music he would play, I was familiar with as a kid. Yeah, you had uh, Chubby Checker, you had Sam
Fats,
Cooke,
Fats
you had
Domino.
James Brown, Fats Domino, Little Richard, but you also had the jazz guys. You had, yeah, Dizzy. You had Earl Garner, the piano player. You had all that wide spectrum, and that was every day. I heard my first big band record that I remember. I always tell him when I see him is Q's first big record. Excuse me, Quincy Jones's. My introduction to what the big band is sounding like on that version of big band was
Yeah.
Quintessence, the Quintessence album, and all of those. I know that record by heart, backwards and forwards. The
Yeah.
thing to Lena but I heard that and I played it over and over. The arm would go back and forth and play it
Yeah,
over
yeah.
and over and over
Sure.
again. Beautiful intervals and the ballads and the tempos, and that taught me how to play with the big band. Stay in your lane, that kind of thing. Sure, there was the Count Basie band that had their kind of thing. Sure, there was the signature Duke Ellington thing,
Wait, wait, wait,
but
wait,
that
wait.
Quincy record,
Wait, let's name some names. You said Count Basie. Who we talking about? Philly Joe?
no, Philly Joe wasn't in that band. That guy's got another name. I can't remember
Okay,
his name
okay,
now.
okay.
I mean, Les McCann's going to kick my butt because he sent me a book with the guy's picture in it, and I'll say it's Sonny Payne.
Sonny
I
Payne.
think it's Sonny Payne, but
All right.
he was so little, not little, but Cozy Cole and Sonny Payne,
Yeah, yeah.
and those guys were giants of men
Little in
in the
terms of
music thing,
reputation. Yeah.
but they were little cats, man. They were small men, but boy, could they play. And I mean, Sonny Payne, he really drove da 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 da. Da, 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 when they say one more time, the April in Paris,
Okay, okay,
that
okay.
guy.
Okay, okay.
No, I'm just saying for those the listeners, I can't name the name, but I can sing that song. And when you refer to that, like the Beatles or anything else, that distinctive song of April in Paris,
Yeah.
one more time, that
Right.
was that guy. I
Okay.
heard that all my life, so
Yeah,
that
man.
kind of stuck to me.
But that influenced your play, did it not, early on? Because you were wise beyond
That
your years, is what I'm
that's
trying to get to. You
I had no clue. I didn't know that that was
didn't
what
know.
it was. I
Nothing to
just knew that
compare with. That's all you knew. Yeah.
that's all I knew, and I didn't know nothing. Did I not know that God was preparing me and pouring it in my head and in my soul? And just like some chefs kids know what this is supposed to taste like, and this don't taste like that. You say that's gumbo, but that don't taste like gumbo to me. You say that's jazz, or this is that rhythm, or this is that feeling, or that flavor. That don't sound like that to me. It
All
sounds
right.
like this.
All
And
right.
that's
Listen,
how I would play it.
here comes the journalist in me, and you're my brother, so I know where I can go.
Interpret.
I can go here with you on this. No, this is a question and an inquiry. What you just described in my mind, because of what I know of your music, and I know you're a star to the stars. You're the first call drummer. You're the drummer to the stars. So people that you have performed with and supported in your music, there's a consistency and an assuredness. But then there are other types of drummers. So I tried to call the drummer with the Count Basie band. Okay, these can't stand out as individual drummers, but Buddy is accused of being stable, consistent, non-obtrusive. You know what I'm saying? There are star drummers and stuff, but you've always been the trustworthy cat in the groove that maintained and accompanied so well. Where am I going with this?
I'm
What
right
would
there.
you attribute that to? Is that because of your understanding of what went before and the ability, innate ability for you to merge and mesh and support? You know
Yes,
what?
well,
You know what I'm speaking of, right?
there's yes,
Buddy,
yes,
Buddy
yes.
is a
But
laid back drummer, what they'll say. But if
that's
George Benson
right.
turns to you and say, man, funk it up, there you go there.
Yep. Yes,
Talk on that.
sir.
Talk on that.
A lot of people refer to me, and guys in my and protecting of me will say, Buddy picks his spots. I know that Roberta wants it this way or that way until she says something else. What'd
Okay.
you just say? You said George. George wants it a certain way until he says otherwise.
Okay.
Sometimes people say, don't listen to him. He don't know what he's talking about. And I always say to them, don't say that because it's his party.
That's
I
right.
may be driving the bus, but he tells me where he wants to go in driving the bus. So if he wants it faster one night and slower, funkier, or he refers to another song, George, here's George. He went to see the Isley Brothers at the Madison Square Garden one night
He came
here
back
in
with
New
a feel.
York, and he the next day he called me and said, "Brother, you got one of them. I want you to get one of them little piccolo snare drums. I saw a little drum. He
Yeah.
had in that sound." I go, George, I have that drum. Just tell the guy to turn it up in your monitor. And he giggled and said,
Did
you
I name the
crazy.
right
I
cat
said,
to make my point?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because George, George is always searching. All of them are searching for the next chord, the
Of course.
next hit, the next thing to inspire them because they have to play a certain amount of music every night,
But
whether it's Jimi Hendrix or George Benson.
the
They have to
point
play them
is,
tunes over and over again, or them people gonna be mad at them, right?
or, and if if the drummer can't do that, then that's why you get the call. Because you are that
Yeah,
guy that can
yeah,
accommodate
yeah,
them with your
yeah,
vast
yeah,
toolbox
yeah.
and knowledge. That's
Yep.
the point I want to make. So
I'm with you.
that's why
I'm
they
with you.
call you the drummer to the stars, man. Because
Yes, sir.
Manhattan
Yes, sir.
Transfer. Let's change gears. Talk about them.
Yeah,
How long did you play
those
with them?
guys. Well, I left. Okay, I left Saturday Night Live again. The first time I left was with Brett Midler, to help her do what we now know as her first world tour. But then I left Manhattan. I left to do a tour with Manhattan Transfer when Saturday Night Live did some big change up, and I'm be somebody's daddy. I had to go to work, and I was nice enough for Janice Siegel and them to allow me to participate with their musical endeavors for several years. But they also knew what you just said. They also knew that my father sang in the Charioteers,
Sure they
and
did. Now, help your young man. Who did
Buddy
they
knows
emulate?
how to play with singers.
Where'd they get everything
So
they got famous on? Where'd they get it from? Put
yeah,
your
you
daddy
got
in
that
there,
right.
huh?
Alex Blake,
Tell the truth.
Alex Blake in the band and Yaron. We played as a unit. I never got too far out. I never got too laid back, but we kept it going, and I had a wonderful time. That Live in Japan video and thing that you came to,
Sure.
what's that? The Nagano Sun Plaza,
Nagano
right? Did
Sun
I say it
Plaza.
right?
That's right.
Okay, yeah. So
Nagano
we
Sun Plaza.
recorded that there, and that's still one of my best feeling and live performances and videos. Frank Cologne was on that too, and Alex and what's my man Wayne Johnson and Don York. But that was a great interpretation of several genres: the vocalese, the rock and roll, the doo wop, and then the funk and the jazz, all in one show.
Okay, hold that point right there. You mentioned a name that I wanted to feature you performing with this brother, Frank Cologne. Where
Oh,
did I
thank
meet
you.
him? Did I meet him in Japan, perhaps?
Yes, sir. At that same Manhattan Transfer stuff you just said.
An amazing percussionist, amazing, a nice guy, great guy. But let me just address my listeners. You know, as a journalist, 52 years and counting, you know, in my business, like in the music business, you play music. In my business, you interview newsmakers. You could be a criminal or a president. It doesn't matter. You got to go on the news for something you said or did. So from Richard Nixon to Jimmy Carter to Bill Clinton to George Bush Sr. and
Ted Turner.
Obama at a business, I've been in their face.
Right.
Not prime ministers of Japan. It doesn't matter. That's my job. As a drummer, is you deal with whomever's up there fronting. You know what I'm saying? Now, Frank Cologne is a front man in his own right. He's got his own musical genre, but he would call a guy like you and work because of his experience of working with you on other people's gigs, right? Is that the
Yes,
relationship?
sir. Yes, sir.
All
Exactly.
right, let me share. Here's an opportunity. We're going to get a twofer in here. I want my people to hear you play. But this particular video that I found features you playing with Frank Cologne in a very percussive, interesting cover of a Stevie Wonder tune. Let's go to the screen share right here, if I may find this thing. And I think this is the Frank Cologne Band. I'm going to share this and holler back if we don't hear and see well. Can you now see that?
Oh, yeah, that's nice, man.
Okay, very good.
Wow.
I've got it queued
Very
up
good,
to
man.
you. Okay, here we go. I'm going to cue this up. I'm going to pump the audio up. And this is about a minute 55, about 3 or 4 minutes.
Thank you.
Feel free to talk over and make a point if you want to. Our image is now being seen in the corner here. But here is Buddy Williams with Frank Cologne. Set this piece up for me. This was a studio job where?
Oh, this was his debut of his solo project, his second solo project, and he did a Latin version of Stevie Wonder songs. Can't go wrong. They're all classics.
Yeah.
And this is I think it was I was made to love her. It was a really great rendition of it with the Montuna. I'm probably gonna get busted for that saying it wrong, but I think it's the Montuna rhythm. But you can't sit still on that. It makes you want to
No.
dance,
Here it
and
is,
the rest
folks.
is self-explanatory. Everybody knows this melody.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here's Frank Cologne featuring Buddy Williams on drums here, coming to you on Rap About It with Mal Adams, an episode of Japan Journal, all the way from Japan around the world, featuring my brother Buddy Williams on drums. Check it out. Here we go. Hey, buddy. Oh, look at him. Oh, ow. Yee. Ha. Yamaha. Oh, oh.
Vega.
Ha.
Vaya. Vega, Papito. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
Great memory.
Let me talk to you about it. Let me stop the video. If I can. Okay, there it is. That's the end of that. Thank you very much. And we're back.
Thank you, Frank Cologne. Great situation
Frank,
there.
did you call? You spoke to him. You sent him a message and told him we were going
I
to feature
sent them
you?
a message. They're asleep in Brazil. They'll see it
Yeah.
in the morning.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much, man. That was wonderful. I haven't seen
Amazing.
that in a long time.
Man, what are your recollections about that? That was done in New York.
Yeah, he said he wanted to do a special tribute to Stevie. We all know Stevie. We know him as a musician and as a writer. And Frankie's the next solo project, he said he wanted to do Stevie Wonder. So he
Yeah.
did all these different Latin versions of Stevie Wonder. I think Janice sang on one of these tunes too. Janice Siegel, the great Janice Siegel, he used her on one of these tunes. But one of these songs that are on that particular project. But that song right there, I mean, that arrangement is wonderful,
Oh
man.
my
It's
God.
right in there.
Oh my God.
You're right at the salsa club getting ready to dance.
Yes, sir. Yes,
The
sir.
Corso or whatever the name of the places are that you can go to. Roseland or whatever,
All right.
Really nice, man. Really
Okay.
nice.
So you mentioned salsa. So many genres, so many aspects of the music. Did you
Amen.
get all that in your education, or just by association, or that particular?
I
You had to
all
have.
of the above, but remember where I live. I live in New York, and if you just
Okay.
open your ears and listen,
Okay.
that's and the gigs that you got to do to pay your rent, you better learn how to play
See,
salsa and country western too. Even though
you got to
people
hear
don't
that walking home
identify.
from the train station, don't you?
Yes,
Coming through the
sir.
neighborhood, different ethnic
Yes,
ethnicities, groups,
sir.
the melting pot that makes up New York,
Your
right?
friends, your friends' mama and daddy plays that in their crib. You go hang out with your boys or the girlfriend,
Sure.
and they playing it right there. So you, as a musician, you're hearing it whether you want to hear it or not, and you either take advantage of it and record it in your brain, or you flush it out and not absorb it. I always absorb all the music that I could hear, and later on try to apply it to my everyday life. I didn't know that I was going to be a working musician, but look
Right.
at that.
But as a working musician, the cat next to you playing percussion came from that. Alex Blake. Who is this
Oh,
guy? Who does that?
is
He brings so
Alex
much
Blake is a great bass player on he really deserves more recognition. He's
unsung
from New
hero, no
York,
question. A genius.
but yes, he is, and prolific writer and virtuoso on the acoustic bass, on all basses, but on the acoustic bass. And his family origin is from Panama.
Panama.
So,
That's why I
but
brought it
his
up. Just
father was the
make your
same
point.
as my father. Same as my father was in the music business and influenced my life. Alex Blake's father was a big band leader, plays the trombone, but he was a great arranger, and most of his kids are great musicians. Alex Blake and then Alex's baby brother Russell Blake, great musicians and great bass players. But
Yeah.
Alex Blake is a great player and a friend. And he and I, Frank Cologne, Yaron, we played with Manhattan Transfer, but I played with Alex Blake from high school
Sure.
till now. Same
Shout
thing,
out
natural essence.
Rashid Ali, Puerto
Yeah,
Rican
Rashid
brother.
Ali is the reason why, brother. Listen, Rashid Ali pulled my coat in high school. Hey, man, check this out. And I sat down and tried to play to it. He
Tell
said,
them
yeah,
who
good,
Rashid
good.
Ali is, man.
Rashid Ali is a great writer, composer, plays all kind of instruments. In high school, he played woodwinds. He's from here in New York, the Casbah. He's from when you see the West Side Story movie, he's from that neighborhood right there. It's
Yeah,
right
okay.
behind Lincoln Center right now.
Is
And
that
he was
Monk's neighborhood? Thelonious Monk's neighborhood?
yes, sir. Thelonious Monk lived right there, that street, 64th Street. And wonderful musician and great brother. And he opened my eyes to the world and all that stuff. It was like a can of essence in the refrigerator or in the cupboard. He took my essence and said, yo, man, play something to this. And he would play it on the piano. What'd you just say? Dizzy said, you need to get your piano chops together so you can interpret. He would sit at the piano and say, this is my song I want to play. Play what you feel here. I played what I thought went in, and he would play the sax. He'd teach the piano guy, Dad Adderley Jr. He'd have the singer do this. He'd tell the bass player. Rashid
Brilliant,
Ali's been
brilliant,
like
brilliant
that ever
musician.
since, man.
Yeah,
Here we are 40, 50 years later, and he's still doing it.
and a Wall Street broker by trade. Did he do
Yes,
it? Come on.
sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
I'm shouting him out. we speak every once in a while, but guess why I'm talking about it? Because you introduced him to me early on, and
Yes,
guess what
sir.
else? I'm talking about relationships and brother to brother kind of thing. You introduced him to me and recommended him to me because he had an album. Toll Town Records was born because I cut a deal for Bunny Wailer, rest in peace, recently passed away, the original member of the Wailers. I didn't say Bob Marley and the Wailers, I said the Wailers. Peter Tosh, Bunny, Bob Marley, and a sister, Kelso, I forget her name, but they were, and Junior Brathwaite, the high tenor, Simmer Down. That was
Yes,
the
sir.
original Wailers. So I go to Jamaica, pass through Brooklyn, your place, on my way, and got Bunny a deal with Nippon Columbia Records to distribute, manufacture, and produce his commemorative CD for Bob Marley. 50th year anniversary would have been his birthday, double CD for worldwide distribution and manufacturing, and spent several days with him at his mountaintop resort, Bunny Wailer, and he's telling me all about the roots of the music and the Jamaican tinge. But he told me they're in Jamaica listening to the radio out of Miami, listening to you cats and your daddy and them,
Yes,
the
sir.
singers. And so our music
Yes,
influenced
sir.
them. You see, so it's all connected, The
Yes, sir.
Creoles and the influence on ragtime or the virtuosity of the,
Yes, sir.
you know what
No
I'm saying?
question.
We bring the blues to that, the African Americans.
Amen.
Very interesting, man. But you're living that. You're in the heart of that right there. If you didn't play music, if you're just walking down the street delivering papers or whatever, you'd get exposed to that kind of thing. Brother from Nebraska, we didn't get that. That's why Brooklyn's my second home in America. I'll tell anybody, man, look, please, if you want to know the world, go to Bed-Stuy. Go to
The
Brooklyn,
capital
man.
of the universe, Brooklyn.
Huh?
The capital of the universe, Brooklyn.
Without doubt. When the aliens
That's
come
what it is.
down to get theirs, they're going to land in Brooklyn.
Listen, Spike Lee will tell you that, and so
What?
will the Mighty Sparrow, Reverend Al Sharpton, and then I can start naming some white folks. All them folks will say Brooklyn. You know what I
Brooklyn.
mean? Look at
Brooklyn.
all these folks you said the gentrification. Look how many people have moved here.
Coming
They
back.
didn't go to Manhattan. They moved to Brooklyn.
Gee, sure you're right.
Hmm.
Yeah, man. If I ever came back to America, I'd be either in Brooklyn, you know. Just give us an update on the status of things now. We've covered a lot of ground, but I'm intermittently injecting things because you're my representative in America, in the
Yep,
universe,
yep.
in Brooklyn. What's
Yes,
the
sir.
status right now for working musicians right now?
Well, in
Pandemic is
lieu of the pandemic and the closure of any and everything, I see that the Blue Note is open and they're letting people in there to see jazz, the
okay.
Apollos, the different other clubs. Broadway is trying to do something in September 15th. About 5 or 6 shows of the biggies are all opening up to the public. So
Okay.
that's Lion King, Wicked, Ain't Too Proud to Beg. There's 2 more that I haven't named, but you know what I mean? Big shows
Okay.
like that you know people are in line waiting for them to open the door so they can go see it.
Tell
So
me, tell me about
it's
your relationship, being a native of Brooklyn and being the musician that you are, being a first call cat to come and work those Broadway shows. That's different from playing jazz and the Blue Note and stuff like that. Tell me about that.
yeah, you're right.
Share it a little bit with
Well,
that. We've got some footage of you standing with me out in front of your theater, Dama. I got to go do
well,
it.
those blessed events of being able to play a Broadway show and be able to contribute and play that every night the same way every night so that they
Sure,
can interpret their program. That's another a mindset because
sure.
in jazz or the Blue Notes that we name and Dizzy and Miles, trust me, them guys don't play that shit the same way every night. They'll play close to it. It'll be
Oh,
the
yeah.
same chords, but believe me, their solo is going to be different from this to this to that to that.
Sure.
And the difference of playing the the discipline of a Broadway thing is you have to play it the same way every night or somewhere close to it. I don't you know what I mean.
I know, man. You've told me, you describe your job. You go in there and before the doors open for the season, you've got the music down, you've written it, you've composed it, you've arranged it, you've acquiesced it to whatever the, theatrics are, right? Isn't that the skill
Yes,
set?
sir.
So you
The
got to
dance,
understand production.
the big dance numbers and the 11 o'clock song and all of that.
Now, what's that mean? What's the 11 o'clock song?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mal.
Don't be
Okay,
sorry. I'm
in the
going to ask
old
you if I don't know.
no. I'm
And
saying
if I don't know, I'm no damn sure my people don't know. Talk to us.
okay, so
Inside school. Give it to me.
in the old tradition of theater and a giving show, as old people would say, yeah, you have your opening hot number, you have your big dance number, and then they call it the 11 o'clock. Some people would call it the 10 o'clock, but okay, just before the big show is ending, if it's the love scene or the even the cat song, that cat song that you see in Cats, memories, da 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 da, or Annie, the sun will come out tomorrow. That's an 11 o'clock song. Everything builds up to this one song.
Crescendo number.
And then it goes down like this. Bye. Curtain, out of there.
Bow and exit stage left.
So it gets built up to that. The 11 o'clock song for you was And I'm Here. Da, 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 da.
And I'm getting chicken bumps just hearing you talk about that, brother. What?
Yeah.
Wow.
And to hear them sisters sing that song every night, and the different sisters that have their interpretation of it, but it's the same song. Cause to hear what's that girl's name? LaChance won the Tony, but there's another sister named.
No. You don't remember? You introduced me to her.
Oh yeah.
Street in front of the damn studio. Jeanette
Bayardell.
Dear Bayardell, man. Yes, I met her. I put her on my show because of you. Brought her up and said, man, talk to her. And she blew up she was on her way up at that point in time.
Yes, sir.
Oh my God.
And,
what a
but I have to say, for your listeners and your viewers, Fantasia burned up that song, brother. Just like you said, the Goosebumps.
Yeah.
All of them sisters had to do that 11 o'clock song.
Wow.
That was the song that built the climax of the piece. Built to that song. There's a piece, there's a song, the 11 o'clock song for Bet was whatever that song was. You know what I mean? They build it up to that, and then we're out of there. So, yeah.
Interesting.
There's your definition of the 11 o'clock song.
Sure, you're right.
I'm sorry.
No.
I didn't mean to throw a curveball up in there.
Ain't no curveball. That's what we came to do, is to learn from you, brother. I'll throw up the subject. You give us the information. Fill in the details. A couple of more things, and then I'm going to let you see. I don't want you falling asleep because this is just your first.
No, I won't do that on you. I promise.
Journal. This is your first. We got a time gap over here. I appreciate you acquiescing to my convenience here. It is only 1:30 in the afternoon on Tuesday, August 10th at the time of this recording.
Beautiful.
Monday night, your time, 11 p.m., 11:30. So, right? No, 9:30.
Yes, sir. No, it's 12:30.
How's it going to be 12:30? Did I say 1:30?
That's what my clock says on the cable.
It's accurate. You're absolutely right, because it's 13:30 here, which is 1 o'clock in the afternoon, midnight your time, 12:30.
Yeah, no problem.
So listen, a couple of things I do want to feature because I mentioned it in your bio. I knew you before we met in person because of Saturday Night Live. You were in people's homes. That's why you can't go nowhere. I can't take you nowhere in Japan. And somebody, buddy, son, you know.
Buddy son, yeah.
You had celebrity status early on as a young guy, and your personality is so conducive to that. You never no star tricks. You're humble, you're gracious, man, to your people. You play for the people. You're large. You're huge. You know what I'm saying. Your largesse is amazing to watch. I'm behind you in the shadow. Hell, I'm on TV every night. It don't strike me either because I don't see them people watching me. You were playing in front of people, thousands of people in arenas and stuff like that, hanging with Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder. What is it about your professionalism and your personality? Advice to an up-and-coming musician who strives to achieve what you've been able to achieve in your 50-some years of doing this for money and love.
Okay, I'm gonna
right.
say it like the old guys taught me. The motto and the secret to this whole thing is, yes, you got to go to school and study and learn your craft, but you have to show up, shut up, and play the music. I'm not going to be the rude one with this other one here, but show up, shut up, and play the music. Yes, you must practice. You must learn your instrument. Look at Winton. Look at Branford. Look at Kenny Kirk. Jocko. Look at all these guys. They practice all. Marcus. They practice all the time. But you got to show up. That means be on time.
Be on time or ahead of time.
If the show's at 10 o'clock, you can't show up at 10 o'clock for the show. You have to be there at 9 o'clock. So when they say 1, 2, 3, 4, you play. So that's show up. Shut up, meaning there's a leader and a follower.
And it ain't about
you are there to accompany. You're there to accompany and fulfill a job, whether you was a mason building something, or you were the window washer or the street sweeper. Do your job. If you're the sax player, play the damn saxophone and don't worry about the trumpet player. You can blend in and know that, but do your job. So show up and shut up, and then play the music. You come there to be a musician. Play the ladies' music, the man or the ladies' music. Play the music. Don't come in there talking about what you want to play. Show up, shut up, play the music. Play the music. When they hire an electrician, you do the electric, right? Yep. When you hire a musician, you play the music. That's what I learned. That's what I try to do. Now, yeah, I'm good, but I ain't that good. I know some guys that are much better than me, but they can't get those gigs like I get. I get the gigs because I'm a sub, because them other guys, I was getting ready to slip now and say that word.
Yeah, right. But
some other guys come up in there and they want to play all this other stuff that Bette Midler don't want to hear. Here's your Hello Dolly story.
She didn't write it
down
like
there. She's doing her thing. They're trying to get this show together. They got another group of musicians there, and it ain't swinging. Bette Midler wants this stuff to swing. Excuse me, I was catching my mouth. She wants it to swing like Pearl Bailey. That's all I'm saying. She wanted it to swing like Pearl Bailey. It was stiff and not red. It wasn't swinging. She didn't know what to say other than it doesn't sound right. It ain't swinging. Y'all need to fix it. I know there's kids watching this show, so I can't say the exact words my boss said, but you know, as what you call it would say, you know. So luckily for me, the contractor that was the contractor for her particular thing, he took a chance and called me, and I was home getting ready to go pick my granddaughter up from school on a Friday evening, pick her up from nursery school or whatever, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And he asked me, are you in town? Are you in Japan? Are you in Arizona? In Hawaii? Where are you? I said, I'm in Brooklyn, watching the All-Star game, getting ready to come on, and I'm going to pick up the baby. What's going on? Well, we're down here doing Bet. Oh, tell Bet I said hello. Tell her yourself, I need you to show up tomorrow.
Story of your life, right?
It's a
Beautiful.
blessing. God is
Beautiful.
good all the time, and all the time God is good.
You
So
said it better
here's
than I
your
could have described it just watching you for
show up,
30, 40 years.
shut up, play the music. Show up, shut up, play the music. The guy said the book will be in my door, man. I went and got the book. I checked it out, but what did I do? I did my research. I went and looked up on the YouTube or whatever the Pearl Bailey version of Hello Dolly for it to swing and get an idea of what the flavor is of that lady's version of Hello Dolly. Little did I know that was what she was going for. I just went to refer to some shit so I could listen to it and get it under my fingers before I get there tomorrow. And when I got there the next day, everybody was kind to me, the orchestra, the cast, and the principals. And that's how I got the gig and swung on. Yes, I'm that guy, but I'm usually let's go. Al Jarreau, same thing. He went to do the Steinway piano event at Carnegie Hall. Three nights of different things using Steinway pianos. One was a classical, one was a jazz, another one was like a rock and roll or R&B thing. Al Jarreau was there on the second night of the jazz thing, but you know Al Jarreau's got a little funk going on with his thing. And the gentleman that was there could not provide, I'm being politically correct now. The gentleman that was there, I gotta be Mal, because folks are gonna know who I'm talking about.
I'm not gonna ask you to.
No, I can't. Those that know. But the gentleman that was there to provide the drum chair had to let me play the two Al Jarreau songs because he went, we're in this love together. And my man didn't play no backbeat.
Okay. That's the Steinway version. Give me the Buddy Williams version.
I'm just telling you. I'm giving you Buddy's version because I cannot.
No. I'm telling you. You said he allowed you. He let you. You told him to move over, or the producer.
No.
The producer
Al
told him,
Jarreau
call Buddy.
And his staff.
Okay.
Al Jarreau's staff called me. Al Jarreau's staff called me and said, "Is Buddy in town?" And I came to play Al's version of whatever he had to do that night, and that cat played the rest of the evening of his show. But when Al came on to do his two songs, I played for him. A lot of artists do that. When they come and play, they bring their own piano player or they bring their own cats. But luckily for Al, I lived in town, and me and Butch were down the street playing at a club 2 blocks from the place. That's the part I was trying to get to tell you, Mal Adams, is that God had me and Butch at a club at 57th and 8th Avenue, and Carnegie Hall is 57th and 7th. 1, 2, 3 blocks over. We came down the street with the cymbal bag and the stick box, and we ran a cymbal box in the stick bag. We got over to Carnegie Hall. We did the little rehearsal. Al asked me about the kids. You know, I played with Al, with Sanborn, me, Marcus, Al.
I remember.
We did tours together. We did the Live Under the Sky with you, and Al was there singing.
That might have been the occasion where I interviewed Al because of you. I don't know, but I've interviewed Al Jarreau. I consider him a friend, man. This guy gave me
Art Blakey was there.
Huh?
You interviewed Art Blakey at the Live Under the Sky that time too.
Absolutely. Shout out to you.
And what's her name? Mickey Howard was on that show, and it was Sanborn, Joe Sample. We all did. We did. And Barney, Don Elias, that was the Live Under the Sky. But Al, we've always played with Al, but Al was not happy with the rehearsal that was going on in the afternoon of the gentlemen that were provided to him. Right. So he asked the guy, doesn't Buddy live here? and then they called me, and that's how that happened. So
Okay,
that's how a
right here.
lot of
Here's
times
a
I end up on
transition.
these things.
I understand. I appreciate it, man. Great story, because that transitions me into the last two aspects of your interview on this particular occasion. First of all, back up and tell me you invoked God's name, who runs through everything you do in your life. You're a spiritual brother. You're a man of God, as I know you, and you will give credit where credit is due. God played a big role in your life. And you're
Amen.
humble in recognizing that. Some cats think they're all that, man, but
Amen.
you just called it out. You just not even thinking about it. God had you and Butch nearby. Okay, so now we're going to do this right
Yeah.
now. Tell the people, while I upload this GoFundMe thing, tell the people about William
Oh,
Butch
about Butch. Oh,
Watson,
Butch.
if you will, and I'm going to find this.
Okay, listen.
I know him through you. I met him
Yeah,
30,
yeah, I
40
know.
years ago,
Yes, 40 years
and
ago.
just spoke to him
Listen,
because we told him we are going to shout him
yeah,
out.
thank you, thank you. Listen, no man is an island. You know, even the hand, a hand isn't a hand unless all the fingers participate. So you can't get nothing done. There's no I in team. Teamwork is a team situation. Whether it's rowing a boat together to get it to the other side of the ocean, or
Okay.
building a building, or making music, or doing anything like us doing this broadcast. It's me and you, and we're conveying and communicating to the people. But
Yes.
somebody's running the electric for this, and somebody's running the all the other stuff. Butch Watson is my dear friend that helped me with my instruments. I call my drums my kids. He's been my drum tech for the last 30, 40 years. He's been taking care of me. I can't carry my drums by myself. And the times that I used to try to do that, everybody worried about me getting stuck up in the street or on the airplane or whatever, and my safety. And I provided a job for a young man from the Bronx who's been with me through thick and thin, and I wouldn't have been there or made it to those situations without him. And again, I say, no man is an island. You all
Sure.
have to work together. And I appreciate and love him. Unfortunately, life is always has some surprises, some ups and downs, some ebb and flows. And Butch had a stroke a month ago, and his right side was compromised. And unfortunately, because we have this pandemic and this whole situation in the world, it wasn't a whole lot of work. And if you don't work, then your insurance, your health thing is built on the thing of insurance.
Sure.
And he didn't have it, and he was in the hospital. I just brought him home from the hospital, but we have to get monies together to pay the hospital bill, the therapy. We got to get him another crib, a handicap place, and he's coming through like a trooper. He was by today walking. He's trying to walk, but
Well, thanks to
it's
you
very
advising
difficult. So
him.
we did a GoFundMe to try to help him.
Am I sharing this screen? Can you see this?
Yes, sir. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
very good. William Butch Watson, drum tech to Buddy Williams. GoFundMe link as according to what you see on the screen. https://GoFundMe.me/6E82E4C3. Click there, copy this, go there and donate as your heart will allow you to do that to a brother. And as Buddy, I'm sitting here interviewing Buddy Williams, but I've been with Buddy in the process of doing his thing. This brother facilitated him. As you said, no man is an island. And
No, brother.
if you're a drummer as busy as Buddy Williams, and you ain't got a Butch Watson on your team, you in big trouble.
Yeah, bro.
Talk to me about it, man. What does
He made it. Listen, he made it possible for my instruments to be in. I have several sets of drums. Thanks to Mr. Hagiwara. I know that's a commercial and a run-on sentence, but if you knew
Yamaha
Hagi like
Hagiwara
I
song.
know Hagi,
That's right.
Hagi has provided me. When we did The Color Purple, I showed you them purple drums they made for us for that show.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
So my Butch would make sure that my drums that I needed for the jazz place worked, or my drums that I needed for a Carnegie Hall, or the drums that I needed for that Bette Midler thing I told you about, or the
Yeah.
Color Purple, or Motown, the Motown show that I did on Broadway. All those drums got there and was taken care of by Mr. Butch Watson. And I'm eternally grateful for his service and his
Yeah.
love for the music and helping us. And I mean, people that I've worked with, they would hire him as the drum tech because they go, oh, well, you know, we got to get Buddy's man in here because he'll make that much easier. Shaka, when I went to go play with Shaka, she kept him. We
Guess who
played
just
with
hit?
Maxwell, he kept him. You
I
know what I
just got,
mean?
I just got William Watson. Thank you. Hit me up on with Stream Alive. Obviously, shout out to Butch, my brother.
Oh, then it's
I
working.
feel y'all
But
here, and
thank God for those,
you can't love Buddy
know.
Williams without loving Butch
Yeah.
Watson, baby.
Yeah, man.
Yes,
I would
sir.
not be Buddy Williams if it wasn't for Butch because he sure couldn't. You know, I'd have a broken back or I wouldn't be alive now because humping drums is not easy. And yeah, there's
Gee,
the SIRs in New York and across the country. But even when I did that, Butch would talk to SIR to make sure that the equipment and the stuff was all
sure you're
proper
right.
when I
Sure.
would go to play, even if he could or could not make it to whatever the job was. So
Okay.
you have to put credit where credit is due. And talking about doing your job, that brother does his job and he takes pride in his work and is very
Man,
protective
I met
about
him
my instrument.
early
Don't
in our relationship with you. That's how crucial he
Yes,
is
sir.
to your professionalism
Yes,
and
sir.
whatnot. That brother,
I put it
shout
to
out.
you this way. Butch will go in a building to a site to somebody's getting ready to set up to do something, and the crew will say, "Oh, is he coming?" He'll say, "Yes,
Y'all like
yeah,
Batman
he'll
and
be here
Robin.
in an hour." Yes, yes. The
Unbelievable.
bet
Moving through.
thing.
I've seen him do his thing moving through the
Yeah,
streets of New
bro.
York, brother.
And he's made
And you're
lemonade
talking
out of
about
some lemon
you're talking
drums,
about
you know.
show up, shut up, and play the music. Before
That's
you
him.
show up, guess who was there?
Yeah. Butch.
Butch.
Butch. And he's giving me the heads up of what's going on or what I need to bring from home just in case the drums they provided
Something is
are the
lacking.
lemons
Yeah,
and
sure, you're right.
yeah, and
So, ladies
bring
and
this
gentlemen, what we're
tool and that
sharing with you
tool.
right here, yeah, I'm like that fly on the wall. I've seen Buddy work off stage and on stage, but the off stage
Yes,
is
sir.
just as fascinating and interesting,
Yes,
which makes
sir.
him a
Yes,
full
sir.
human being. That's why I shout him out
Yes,
like
sir.
this. He's more than a
Thank
drummer,
you.
man, more than a musician. He's a human being.
Just like you see those guys with the cars, you got the guy that drives the car, but what about the crew that jumps in the under the car and do
Oh,
the Mario
absolutely.
Andretti's
F
and all of
Formula
that?
One, F1. Yeah, sure, you're
Them
right about
form
that.
you see
All
all them
about the
folks,
crew, baby. You
the
know, you
crew
see me
runs up
on
under that
TV.
car and
You
go
see
change
me all
them
talking about
tires, and then
Mal
you drive
Adams.
away, right?
You see me talking about Mal Adams seeing in Tokyo, but what you don't see is an audio man, a video engineer, uh, a grip electrician, a crew of 5 standing there telling me if
Yeah.
I got spinach hanging from my mouth or something like that. So,
So that's right. Shout out to the
whatever.
crew, brother, because
The
we
crew,
couldn't do it
baby,
without them.
couldn't do it
No
without him. So
man's an
shout
island,
out
bro.
to him. Yes, sir.
So yeah,
Beautiful
that's
shout
what's
out.
up,
All right,
man.
ladies and gentlemen. So don't forget, if you be so kind as to Google this, go to the GoFundMe link below. William Butch
Thank
Watson.
you.
Donate. Let's raise some funds and give this brother the treatment and show him the love that he deserves. Because what you see through Buddy, he had a lot to do
Yeah,
with
he
it.
needs that help with the therapy, you know. And
Yes, yes, he does.
unfortunately,
And for a brother
he didn't.
who suffered a mild stroke of my own right, I really know what that's about, man.
Oh yes, that's right.
And
You
as
did. You
blessed
did
as
have
I
that.
am,
I forgot.
man, look,
Yes, sir.
hey, I
Yes,
understand
sir.
what it is. So shout out to
You
that,
in
man. Yeah,
Japan, yeah.
GoFundMe. All right, let's
Thank
give
you. Thank you, Mal. Thank
Butch
you very
Watson.
much.
Thank you for allowing me to share this. Now that let me take this screen share down here, and then we're gonna end this show with this, buddy.
Yabo.
I have, thanks to you, I have met some incredible artists in my life. In addition to my career as a guy who puts people on TV and covers people who are in the news, beyond that, I'm not talking about prime ministers and presidents. I'm not talking about Daniel Ellsberg of the Pentagon Papers. I'm not, you know, that comes with the territory. But for me to be able to meet and greet the people that you've introduced me to, or even if you don't come to Japan, they call me and say, "Hey, Al Adams, buddy said you're the guy. Man, you better come on down, meet me at the Hilton, baby. And it's on and popping. We'll go to Body and Soul after the Blue Door. You know what I'm saying? Sit in.
Beautiful.
Jimmy Smith. It doesn't matter. I can name them. Even Steve Gadd. It doesn't matter. Whoever. So here's a little game we're going to play, and this is as much for me as it is for my viewers. I'm going to name a name, stream of consciousness off the top of my head, somebody that I've met through you, or somebody that through you I met who introduced me to somebody else, and give me a word, a phrase or two, whatever comes to your mind to describe this person. And the first brother I will say is Roy Haynes.
Whoa. Oh, great identity, folks.
Okay, right off the bat, huh?
Yeah, brother.
I hear about his foot. Speak on it.
Boom.
Tell the people who he
He
is.
plays six. Roy Haynes, listen, Roy Haynes, you just named Dizzy, Bird, Miles. Roy Haynes played with all of them people when they were coming up. Roy was coming up. Roy's 90-something years
Gotta be
old.
90-something years old.
He sit down at the drums and still play that same stuff that he was playing then. And the thing with the bass drum, make it where he can play the 16th notes with the bass drum.
Love that brother, man. He befriended me, man. And we had a very particular relationship, you know. I gave him
Dr. Haynes, brother. Dr. Haynes is no joke.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Haynes.
All right. Another thing, well, we mentioned Dizzy and Miles. And did you ever play with Miles?
No, yes. We did tracks for Miles.
Okay.
He used them for some stuff, but to play on the road and consistently with Miles, no.
Okay. I'm naming people with you. Sadao Watanabe.
Nabi Sadao was is one of the best Japanese folklore jazz aficionado, the biggest Japan star.
Sure.
I worked with all over. I went to more places in Japan than most Japanese people have been to. Kushiro, Obihiro, way up there, Okinawa, Sakurajima. Now that I named North and I named South, right?
Absolutely,
Okinawa,
both extremes.
and all in between. And I've all them little towns,
Man.
and he has been gracious to us. And I've been to Sumagoi, all those places. I learned and played.
Sumagoi is 4 minutes up the road from me, brother.
That's his
Yamaha.
That's his thing, Sumagoi.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's one of his.
And thanks to you, I know his wife, I know his daughter. You know, you introduced me to all of them. Yeah.
Miko and Mako.
Beautiful.
And the wife, Miko and Mako, the daughter. Great man, a great player. He came to America and learned jazz. He was already a lover of jazz. He came to America to accomplish his education, and I don't know if it was Berkeley or not. I think it was Berkeley, but
probably
I know that he played.
Berkeley, yeah.
The first time I saw Sadao, though, without knowing that I would ever play with him, was when he played with Chico Hamilton, the drummer, and Chico used to play with the mallets and stuff. And Sadao was one of his musicians at the time, and I saw them through the window at McKell's on 97th and Columbus Avenue.
Okay.
Which is now, the temple of all the funk and the great jazz and live house, as they would say in Japan. Right. But I remember seeing Sadao briefly with Chico Hamilton, not to know that later on I would tour with him how many times? 2 times all over Japan, GRP All Stars.
Yeah.
And then I came back and did the Orange Express tour with Sadao. And Nabi Sadao is a wonderful man. He's my godfather, my Japanese godfather.
Sure.
And
And he
he
loves
took
you,
care of
and his
me.
family loves you, and his daughter
He
is
took
your
care of
niece.
me for many
All of
years,
that.
and he was so
All of that.
kind to me and my family and my wife.
Sure, you're right. And the last time I saw him, guess what?
Ah,
Yoshi's in San Francisco, the new one.
nice.
The owner of the building, a brother, architect who
Yes.
designed all that new nouveau stuff in the Fillmore district. You put in Yoshi's and jazz. And Sadao Watanabe is playing. So I'm with Michael Ashburn, my entertainment attorney friend. And he says, man, we're
Yes.
going to go to the club, so and so and so. And I introduce you to, forget the brother's name, who designed all that and got the grants and stuff to build that black renewal of the film. And he says, oh, Mal, great. 4 tourists, you're coming in from Japan? I got a treat for you. We're going to go see a great Japanese jazz player playing live. And I knew right away. I was getting ready to bust his face. He said, let me take you. And so I poker faced him, you know. I said, oh, this is great. I said, well, we got a minute. Can we go back and let me see if I can greet him in Japanese? He said, sure. I haven't met him yet, but let's see. I said, trust me, I got this. Sadao Watanabe opened the door and he said, Mal, what the hell you doing here? My host almost fell out somebody's kitchen. Oh, can't take this brother nowhere. I said, yeah. Talk to Buddy Williams. And said,
That's
now,
our
brother,
boy,
we
man.
got photos from that occasion in San Francisco and talk about you all during that.
Thank you,
I
bro.
never shared that story
Thank
with
you.
you. All right, the next
Thank
person. This is fun. I love doing this. So many names. Good God. Okay, here's one for you. I'm picking names that there's always a story attached to it. Les McCann.
Oh. Okay, I have to give the clean version.
Wait a minute.
We know.
When I edit this, I'm gonna repeat that you said, I'm gonna triple that a few times because that's appropriate.
Yeah.
Talk on him.
Yeah. Okay, listen. Les McCann is a living legend. He's a great producer. He's the procurer of not only his own genre and style of playing the piano and singing and communicating and teaching people about the music that we call jazz and our traditional music. He also made it possible for these stars that we are accustomed to seeing that are great gods, like the great Roberta Flack, my boss of bosses.
Sure.
He discovered her in Washington, D.C. He got her, he signed her to Atlantic Records, and he made it possible for her to have a situation like she has right now. She was a a diamond in the rough.
That transition is crazy because my next artist was going to be Roberta. So speak on that. Make the transition. Talk about Les, then talk about Roberta in the same breath.
Okay, well, Les McCann is a great Atlantic Records star. One of his biggest songs is "Try to Make It Real." Compared to what? But all them other tunes, he's got so many other tunes that he's written and he's famous for. But compared to what is his thing?
Did she not cover that? Did she not
say that?
Roberta.
Oh yeah, well most people did. Yes, Roberta did a cover of it. It wasn't. I don't know if it was released as a commercial thing, other than just to do it on the gig because it was popular.
Okay.
But I also have to say this for you in the audience. He also discovered and signed Lou Rawls.
Wow.
We wouldn't have a Lou Rawls if it wasn't for Les McCann, because Lou Rawls sang background in, Sam Cooke or those kind of groups.
Okay.
And he was the baritone, but Les McCann signed that guy and got him a deal, just like he signed Roberta and got her a deal with Atlantic Records and told him, check her out, check him out. And thus we have those kind of stars. But Les McCann was the guy that would just happen to find these people in great pictures. And Roberta Flack,
and then
well, you know, Roberta
and
Flack I
just
met in
made it.
high school.
Huh?
I said Roberta Flack I met in high school because of Nat Adderley Jr. and Rashid. We were all in the same band, and we played at the Apollo Theater. And we would rehearse at the Apollo Theater, but back in those days, and this is all tied together now. Just hold on. Back in those days, Cannonball Adderley and Nat Adderley, Nancy Wilson, uh, Joe Williams, Les McCann, Roberta Flack, uh, Freddie Hubbard, Stanley. They were all under the umbrella and tutelage, not tutelage, but management of John Levy, the great black manager, John Levy.
Okay.
And Nat Adderley Jr. and I and Rashid, we were all playing in our little group, and we would play in the basement and rehearse in the basement. And a guy named Luther Vandross used to rehearse in the basement too, and play and develop his thing with his group, Listen My Brother, which Nat Jr. would play in, and he would play with Natural Essence. So, but Les McCann and Roberta and, well, of course, Nat and Cannon, if they needed a drummer or they needed a bass player, they would say, "Oh, I got somebody for you. Somebody call Buddy.
Wow.
Somebody call Frankie. Tell Buddy and Frankie to come upstairs and play." So those guys introduced me. So when they had a thing where they had to play an engagement in New York where all of those artists, okay, Jackie
New York
Robinson,
or Nagoya, where I met
yeah,
Les
yeah,
McCann
but
with you.
yes. But I'm talking about when I met them in high school. In
Okay.
high school, we did the first, for instance, my band or our group, the Natural Essence Band, got to play with all them people I just named because John Levy said we're gonna go up to Jackie Robinson's house and he's gonna have a jazz presentation on his land. He had a lake back there, and they set up a tent and a PA, what we now call a PA, and he had his first jazz festival, and they didn't call it jazz
House
festival.
party.
No, it was a
About
jazz
Jackie
festival.
Robinson's estate?
Yes, on his land. It was outside, and
That's what I'm
what
saying.
we know as a festival now, but he didn't call it a festival. They gathered, and the funds they raised was for the Daytop Drug Center or the Daytop Medical Center because one of his kids died from an overdose
Wow.
from whatever the substance abuse stuff was then, and we went to perform as young people, and they were illustrating. Here's some young people that are
Sure.
doing some productive things in the world, and they're going to play with all these different people. We were the examples. Jesse Jackson came and hung because they were all the same crew, they're all the same clique, and we got to play with all them folks. And another guy you bet with me was Herbie Mann. He was at that gig. Les, Herbie, Freddie Hubbard didn't come, but Stanley Turrentine came. You know what I mean? And it was a big party, and we had a good time. And that's the first time I played with Roberta Flack. And of course, she gave us a lesson on how to play with her because she's a school teacher. So she's going to learn
Educator
you.
of the music, yeah.
And she's gonna learn you how to
I met
play that
Roberta
stuff.
early on, man, when she blew up.
Mm-hmm.
She Lincoln, Nebraska, man.
There you
I was
go.
at the University Educational Television Network. Roberta Flack, Ramsey Lewis came in. But
There you go.
the next name I want to name was someone I also interviewed early on. And by the way, Roberta, last place I saw her was at the Christmas concert you did in Tokyo with Roberta. We had a little after party. Shout out
Yes,
to Karen Hill Anton, you remember Karen and yeah, who just dropped a book. Let me shout out. Ooh, you got to check out her book. I'll call the name. I'll put an insert right here. Remind me. Boom. Karen Hills. Breast Pocket Mountain is the translated name of the mountain above Hamamatsu, above Tenri, where she lives. She's already getting accolades and awards for this book. She's a great writer, great journalist, and my sister in Japan. That's family. And her husband from New York. Left New York together as high school sweethearts and traveled around through Afghanistan and all blah. They ended up in Japan. He's studying martial
Small
arts.
world.
She's absorbing the culture and disseminating our culture, through her exploit.
Small world,
Great
brother. Small
book, man.
world.
And they remember they were able to meet you through that occasion, and she's still friends with Roberta from that time on. Small world.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sweet Roberta.
so thank you. You got done. You got with Roberta. I was going to ask you about that. And of course, never met this brother, but you, as a historian of the music, will speak on him. Just a brief thing. I'm getting ready to do a piece about our Black history in Japan piece about Blacks who have contributed to Japan and shared our culture in Japan. And we're getting ready to, we got a project on trying to get it greenlit to be produced in Japan about the first Black samurai in the 1500s, the African bodyguard of the Jesuits that came in, and then Oda Nobunaga, the guy who united Japan, warlord, saw this strapping brother who was a great martial artist and learned the language quick and made him a samurai. That's history. That's Japanese history. So,
yes, sir.
Whatever about Black history. Let me show you some Black history in Japan. Okay, this guy Yasuke. Now, a part and parcel to that process on the series of episodes that I'm doing through Japan Journal is a piece that involves a Japanese guy whose story has to do with our Black history, only he's a Japanese trumpeter. And guess who he is known as? He's known as the Satchmo of Japan. Louis Armstrong, speak on it. Just to
Oh, who Pops? You talking about the Louis
Pops,
Armstrong New Orleans guy, Pops?
the one and only
Oh,
Satchmo.
yeah, yes. I worship the ground he walked on. He made it possible for all of us to do what we're doing right now. There would be no us if there wasn't for a Satchmo for Pops, because Pops made it palatable to have jazz. The Queen of England, she was okay, but the Queen and the King, they loved jazz, and he made it palatable, and I don't want to say homogenized. A lot of brothers don't like him and say he's shine and all of that stuff, but they don't know what they're talking about. You're entitled to your opinion. I don't agree. He just made it palatable. He could swing on anything, and that old man he kicked the doors open for all of us to travel all around the world and play our music from America. He represented the United States in every corner of the universe,
The
playing
universal
our
ambassador
music.
of our culture to the planet.
Yes, sir.
No question
Yes,
about
sir.
it. Now, ain't nobody
Yes,
mad.
sir.
Anybody who's mad
And
at him
love
doesn't
him
understand
dearly.
history. Absolutely. Louis Armstrong. Monumental figure. Okay, man, we could go on and on. But I appreciate you giving me this time for this historical occasion, brother. I'm gonna have to post this whole video, which is going on 4 hours and something, from the time we started. We've been probably kicking it for 3 hours, but I'm rolling 4 minutes, 4 hours, 21 minutes, and 23 seconds right now. I'll chop it up and we'll do 30, 40 minute, 1 hour segments, But appreciate you. I love you, brother, and I invite you to contribute as you're able to the ongoing dissemination of Japan Journal with Val Adams and the Rap About It segments, episodes therein. Yeah? Appreciate it, man.
Beautiful.
Love to your family, man. Melanie, my sister. Shout her out.
Thanks, Mel.
She's got your back.
Oh, man, I wouldn't be here without her. That's for
That's
sure.
right.
They don't like me saying that, but it's the truth. I wouldn't be here without them,
This way we tell the truth, my brother. Thank you for Brownstown. I'm coming to see you, man, as soon as I can get up
Now,
here.
let me say this on you, and I've got to say Teru Nakamura. I
Yep.
gotta say Ryo Kawasaki, and I gotta say uh oh, what's my guitar player's friend's name? He played with Sonny Ron. Masuo, Yoshiaki Masuo. Those three guys on the Japan tip. Uh,
Okay.
that was my introduction, my entree to where you live and thrive. And it would not be fair if I didn't acknowledge those gentlemen, because there would not be no me without those guys. Teru Nakamura, first and foremost,
Sure.
you know, he's so gangster with his thing, and he's like you with, you know, half black, half Japanese kids that are great musicians or great at what they do. Benjamin, one of his sons, was a great football player. I don't know what he's doing now, but I say all that to say I can't not say their names because they
Sure.
made it possible for
And I
me
thank you for doing
to
that. Mention it.
understand that
Yeah, man.
the
Yeah.
palette.
Yeah.
Ryo Kawasaki, what a great musician. He and then of course Yoshiaki Masuo had a recording studio where now we call Soho on Prince Street
Right.
and Green Street. It was in the basement of one of those big buildings down there. He was the first guy, Japanese cat I knew. Him and Teru had these home studios that were so elaborate and just beautiful, typical Japanese, but they
In New
had the
York.
bread and they had the bread and the wherewithal to do that. And you come and record at their crib. It was
Wow.
like any other state of the art studio. But
Wow.
I have to say those guys' names, man.
Well, thank you
Yeah,
very
there's
much because you give me a transition. The last
you
segment
know,
has to do with
yeah,
Buddy San in Japan. Let's speak on it.
yeah.
I'm trying to think back when I started this. I must have met you in the early 80, 81 when we finally hooked up, and it's been rolling nonstop ever since. You became family with me immediately, and
I always say Ndugu. Ndugu hooked me up with all of y'all.
Ndugu. Then if you say Ndugu, you got to say Joe Sample, who was another brother of mine, and I
Well,
don't.
that too, yeah. But those guys, Ndugu brought Hoggy to my Nat Adderley Papa Nat's gig at Concerts by the
Yeah,
Sea,
yeah,
and
I can imagine.
Hoggy, he brought Hoggy to the gig, and just like you said, we're gonna go check this gig out in UC Sadao. Ndugu didn't know that I had met Hoggy when I was 16 when I went with Herbie Mann. So they go, no Najee's playing, Fernando Gums, John
Shout out to
Stubberfield's
old
playing
Najee
saxophone.
Allen Gums.
Oh, Najee Allen Gums, God bless
Rest
his
in
soul.
peace.
He's
Yeah, man.
yeah, and we see Ndugu come back after the first set in the back of the club, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Ndugu. Oh man, he's laughing. I'm bringing my little raggedy drum set, not raggedy, but my little drum
Come
set
on.
from New York to California. I don't want to play their drums. I want to play my own drums, and we play and Ndugu, and here's Mr. Hagiwara. Hoggy smiling. He said, "You remember me?" I went, "Wow, you saved me with that Herbie Mann tour and your
Wow.
great jumps." He said, "I lost your address and your number, so give me your address and your number." And I wrote down on a card, and then that he was the, they made me go, boy, I need to get my own Meishi, right? I need to get my own
Business card.
business card. So I wrote my information out. He said, "Good to see you." He got the bow, and I got the bow. And thank you very much. And then Dougal said, "You all know each other?" I said, "Yeah, I met him a long time ago, but thank you." And Dougal. So they said, "We're gonna leave now. Y'all did a good set. Thank you very much." So I changed my shirt. We go up and play this song. That's a whole drum solo through it. And I'm like, oh, good, he's gone because this is Dougal, man. I'm like, I can't play no shit around
I'm
him.
hearing this
At
for
the
the first
end of the
time.
second set, at the end of the second set, they come back to the room again. I go, I thought you left. He said, oh no, I had to get my New York hit. You just gave me my lesson, my New York lesson. I went, oh, this guy.
That's what I thought.
They stayed.
I would
They
have thought that,
stayed.
yeah. And Ndugu is a badass. My brother
And
too, man, on the West Coast.
and it
Man.
was
Ndugu. I knew
wonderful.
Ndugu before I ever moved to Japan, right? Because I spent
Yes,
10 years with the networks in Los Angeles, in Hollywood.
Los Angeles,
And
yes.
Ndugu was the cat, man. But
He's
Ndugu
always been the cat.
subsequently would end up in my flat, my house in Daein-cho for the Beverly Hills of Tokyo with Marvin Miller,
Yes.
the bass player, name him
Byron Miller.
Byron Miller.
Yes, sir.
The singer passed away. Vanessa, great vocalist, a la ilk of Chaka Khan style, but a great jazz stylist. Sister
Oh, you talking about Vesta?
Vesta, Byron, Ndugu, Marvin Miller. Shout out to Marvin, my mentor in Japan.
Vesta that's when they came to play with and she sang Street Life. She was with
Joe Sample and
the Crusaders.
Now that's what I'm. So listen, here's an Ndugu story. You tell you, this is his personality. I'm dying to get this interview with Joe Sample, right? Because I had met him years ago in Hollywood, so we knew each other. Joe, I got this CNN show, man. Come on, give me about 3 minutes. And so I went to the rehearsal, NHK Hall or somewhere, daytime. And so blah, 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 Joe, yeah, let's do it. Boom, boom, boom. And then Ndugu walks up. He said, you got to put me on. I had to do both of them. And Ndugu said, listen. And Ndugu was about the promotion, baby, So
yes,
you'll look at those tapes and you'll see Joe
yes,
and Ndugu. And Joe Sample became a dear friend, man, up until shortly before he passed away. We used to go. He'd come to Tokyo, and I'd never interview him, man. Half the cats I'd interview once, and then the rest of it, like you, man. I put you on once, and the rest of the time, it's life, brother.
Hang up, yes.
And Ndugu would come to go roll out to the club, the temps in Roppongi.
Temps.
All right, continue. This segment is about you in Japan, Buddy-san in Japan, man. So, man, you know more about Japanese food than I do. You know places, restaurants that I've never been to. You know locations that I would never dream of going to in Japan for you having toured that thing. So, man, I love it when you come to Japan. Because I just follow you in my country, my adopted country. Buddy-san, y'all don't understand, So, minasan Nihonjin no goran no minasan kore wa Buddy-san da yo. Ato de kore o jimaku de tsukemasu kara. I will put subtitles on this we're going to translate some segments of this so you can see the great Buddy Williams. Brother, get your rest. Appreciate you. I'm coming back after you, man. It's been a joy, an honor, and a pleasure to be able to do this with you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
What
Pleasure's all mine.
Well, listen, man, it's all mine.
You make me remember this stuff because some of this stuff I ain't thought about in a long time till I talk with you about it. We lived this together,
We did that.
And I appreciate you dealing with me, coming over there, babysitting us. Melanie always said, they babysitting y'all, huh? I go, well, that's a good babysitter.
Man.
They keep me out of trouble.
Oh, we ain't going there about the family stuff, buying the kimonos and the store
you got this for Bobby. Thank you, brother.
Yeah,
and then you got the thing for Rasheen when they named the car after him, and you found the car pamphlet for him. I'm sure he still has it in his house. He has a big house in Virginia now. I'm sure he still has it somewhere where he can say.
I don't think they make them anymore.
No, they're a beautiful car. You'd have to get it and just preserve it somewhere,
Shout out to all your beautiful kids, man. Your lovely daughter, your clone.
Sir. Yes, sir.
How's she doing?
Yes, sir. She's doing very good. Very good.
Doing
very
great.
good.
Okay. All right, man, let's end it here. I'm going to fade you out. Hold on before you click off. Let's do this. I'll end the show. That'll minimize my editing. And we'll just go ahead and play the closing. You stay on, and after that, we'll stop the live. And the closing goes like this. Just shout out to all my peeps In Japan and America, wherever you're watching, stay tuned to the Facebook channel, the YouTube channel for Japan Journal, the internet's #1 weekly English language online cybercast from Japan with Mal Adams and my guest for this latest episode, the great, the inimitable, my brother, Buddy Williams, the drummer to the stars. Sayonara. See ya.